I have a huge appreciation for art in any fashion that it's expressed. In fact, throughout the years, I've covered my walls with artwork of others and also of myself. And I had the privilege and still have the privilege of witnessing one of the most amazing artists that I've ever come across. One who can look at an image and find every stroke and see every single detail with insight that most eyes cannot see, and depict that on a canvas. So much that the canvas comes alive. This is a gift that we all appreciate, for it is something that is not a gift of everyone. And thus, when an artist paints a beautiful picture, we desire to show it and showcase it on our walls. And I walk by daily, admiring the strokes and the sketches that my mother has done throughout the years, and even my imitation of her gift to my limited degree, as it is not as powerful as my mother's. I still walk by, and every art piece that I admire, I smile when I look at it. And I am sure that most of you, whatever it is that makes you feel alive and drawn to the Creator, brings you joy when you look at it. So a flower in its beauty makes us all smile. In fact, it is a gift that a man gives to a woman that he appreciates. And thus she can display these beautiful flowers with a beautiful scent on her table. This art, this talent, this gift is something that cannot be contained. And if it is contained in structure and in boxes and in rules, how many of us can actually appreciate it then? You see, my mom was born with a gift. She was born with the natural ability to bring to life any canvas. Every detail that she sees, a hand, a person, a face, she can show it to you on a canvas. And I recall a time when I was in my teens that she took her talent and herself to art school. And thus in art school, they showed her the rules of shading, and they showed her the rules of strokes and how it is to capture an image that you are witnessing, how to witness someone who is nude and put it on a canvas and bring it to life. And then her artwork changed. I no longer saw the natural gift and talent that she always displayed throughout the years in someone that was unschooled but gifted. But I saw rules and structure given to her creativity. You see, structure and technique and rules and law given to creativity limits expression and enables us or detracts from our ability to fully appreciate it. For it is no longer authentic, it is no longer soulful, but it is lawful. And so I think of structure and technique and law and boxes. And I realize how the world had changed when structure began to rule creativity. Technique began to be the law of creativity, and thus the artist was stifled, and the ability of the artist to bring forth its soul was no longer as powerful, for there was rule. There was a time when humanity brought forth their gifts and their soul, and they honored everything that was on the earth that was created by the divine feminine. Everything that is beautiful, that nurtures, that strokes nature to the point where we can look at it and just admire it, a sunset, the beauty of that, the feminine in all of that, the food that we are fed daily, that the mother gives us, as we all wish to sit at her feet and sit on her lap and suckle her breasts. This is the beauty of the Mother Nature, who has expressed herself from the soul, from her creativity, without the need of law or rule. For she self-expressed, and we'd appreciated it. But I think back to a time where this self-expression, this creativity, was found to need structure and law and technique and rule. And thus this creativity no longer expressed herself through man. You see, there was a time when there was no need for a building, a church, or a congregation, because somehow one could just go to the dirt and stand and honor all that has been created and the Creator. And that was church. And see, that individual standing in that environment was able to gather and harness the energy that was all around, that came from what was created, and thus build up the frequencies of their vessel and become stronger in their ability to create and express and thank, be thankful to all that was surrounding them, and that was their worship. But later came structure and boxes and rules and technique, and the person became limited in their ability to grasp the benefits of being in community with all that she, the feminine, had given. And therefore buildings began to be constructed, houses of worship and temples, in which it was said, there is where you can gain energy from the Spirit. There is where she is, and there is where the Ruach is, and there is where you can commune and become closer with your Creator that has created all that is natural. And so come to these buildings, this structure, these rules, these techniques, and you will be able to express yourself with others in a building, with walls, confined, and you will be uplifted and upbuilt and spiritually strong. And so many felt that in that structure, in that building made with hands, was where they could now go and receive energies from their Creator, and also express through their divine feminine, which comes out of the masculine, male body type, and female. And they can now express their creativity, the feminine, into the walls of this building. And so these sounds, these vocals that came from these creative spirits embodied in a body, in form, in structure, now were able to share their voices and the sounds of artistry, of gifts, in a building that bounced off the walls. Only now, one had rules. And what would they do with those rules but limit themselves in how they expressed? And so they no longer had the air, the element of the air, to commune with, to pray with, to bring their energies down with. They no longer had the dirt, in which their bodies, through their feet, could now be healed and receive the energies from the Creator, and thus build up their energy and their ability to fight disease and to stay in tune with the planet. And they no longer had the sounds of the ocean or the sounds of the water when it hits the rocks, or the waterfalls, or the streams, or the lakes, or the rivers that just flow without rule. If there's a rock, it flows around it. But see, now they had structure and they had rules in which there was no element of air except what was contained in the box. There was no element of water to rise their vibratory frequencies. And there was no dirt beneath their feet to heal them. And the only fire they had now were the ones that lit their candles. This was the beginning of patriarchy, the teaching of the masculine, in which the masculine, in its gifts, brings rules, which is good. But not rules, structure. In order that one can understand how to live in this human form and this human body that encapsulates the feminine and the spirit. But now these bodies were told to enter a building with boxes and structure, minus all the elements, and now function in a building that now was the epitome of the masculine, with rules and with boxes. And then this feminine, this expression of all male and female, began to have rules. When you can sing, what time we begin to worship, who speaks and who listens, and who is quieted in the corner and is not allowed to express the downloads. Who shall cover their heads, which receive the energies from the Creator? And who shall rule? And who shall govern the creativity of the masses? And thus all the voices that were covered and quieted, all the heads that now had veils, and all the bodies in its beauty, in its shape, in its sexuality that were covered, now lived a life of rules. And a life of extremes in which the possibility of going against the grain and sinning now became the norm. For many, through being oppressed and suppressed, now became victim to their own demise. For these rules, these structure, these boxes, not allowing the expression of the divine feminine of all the individuals, now cause them to err on the side of error, and to live below the belly and desire the very things that would not have been the temptation had not it been a rule. And so these expressions now had boxes and they now had rules. And these expressions began to elevate that which caused the structure, which was the masculine that ruled over this now quieted feminine. And she no longer could express herself through humanity. And thus she quieted herself in a corner. And this structure gave life to other entities of war, of strife, of dominance, of misogyny, machismo, and all that you see presented in your world today, because structure has been given to creativity, technique and rules have been given to your art, and she can no longer express herself, for she is a victim that we all no longer can admire.